Welcome to the Hockey Writers What's Kraken, a weekly show with our top Seattle Kraken writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from the first ever puck drop to their future rivalries, our team covers everything that happens with the Kraken. So sit back, relax, and get ready to find out what's Kraken.
Welcome to the THW What's Kraken show, hosted by me, Tom Pepper, Sean Raggio, and Adam Kierszenblat. Presented by the Hockey Writers, we talk Seattle Kraken hockey every week on iHeartRadio, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to check out our written work at thehockeywriters.com and follow the show on Twitter at What's Kraken Show, as well as our personal accounts at Tom Pepper, at Raggio9124, and at Adam K. Blatt. So we are back again, episode 12 now. Not the most exciting week for Kraken hockey, but we'll get into that. We also lost a bet, so you're going to hear a little bit about the Coyotes on this episode. So hopefully you can hang in there. But before we get to that, how are you guys doing? How's your week been, Sean?
It's been all right so far. It's pretty normal week, honestly. Nothing too crazy going on. A lot of hockey, which is good. Been going out to eat a bit, which has been nice. Good meals. Girlfriend and I started Game of Thrones. It's my third time watching it maybe, and I forgot how obsessive I get over TV shows like this, and I'm fully back into Thrones, and I'm so excited to just keep grinding through it. Season 1's already done. I mean, have you guys watched Thrones? Are you into it?
I've never watched it.
Oh my god.
But
You guys never
watched it. I need to get into watching.
You guys have homework. I want you to write this down.
I haven't even seen Star Wars.
Oh. All right, I might have, for those who can't see this, they're just hearing this, I might have to walk out. That one hurts. That one hurts deep.
Oh man, how are you, Adam?
I'm good. I just want to point out that it's actually episode 13. I made a mistake on that.
Oh, there you go, episode 13.
Yes, I typed in the wrong number into our draft, and it's a very scary episode because we have to talk positively about the Arizona Coyotes a little bit later. So our episode number definitely matches the theme of our episode.
It's our TANF episode. It's our 13.
Oh man. I went to something interesting I did this week. I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame, which I haven't been since before COVID. So it was pretty interesting to go and see all that stuff again. And Wayne Gretzky's first pair of skates, that was probably one of the coolest things I saw there. They had a whole display with Vasilevsky and Kucherov stuff that they used in the playoffs. There was a lot of really interesting stuff there. And I didn't know till afterwards that Sean has his tweet in the Hockey Hall of Fame, the Stanley Tweets section. I don't know. Do you have it there?
I don't have it on me. It's somewhere in my closet over there.
Oh man. Well, I'll grab a photo next time. But yeah, there's a whole wall of Stanley Tweets there, and Sean's is there. So if anyone is listening to this and they're going to the Hockey Hall of Fame anytime soon, look for Sean in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Now, Tom, I got a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have Vasilevsky's pads at the Hockey Hall of Fame?
It was his skates, I believe. I think it was his
okay,
skates.
because if it says pads, they might not fit in the display because they're illegally sized and way too big.
Oh man, I love that photo of Price and Vasilevsky shaking hands at the end of the playoffs, and Vasilevsky looks like twice the size of Price.
I mean, there's literal photo evidence, but why would the NHL do anything to fix something player illegally enhancing their game?
Oh boy,
no comment.
Right. we'll get into the Kraken stuff. This episode is again not the most optimistic for the Kraken. We're gonna kind of break down some things they've been struggling on. Again, we'll have to go through that tough Coyotes match, but before that, let's talk about the power play, which is currently the worst power play in the league. They are 3 for 38 on the power play, 7.9% rate. Clearly having major issues. They're doing an absolutely terrible job at setting up the zone. They're finding it very difficult to get scoring chances in front of the net, and nothing is going. And they've had a lot of chances here. So I want to get your guys' opinion. What do the Kraken need to do here? Do they need to mix up their power play units? Is maybe one of the issues Jared McCann is still out? What do you think? I'll go to you first, Adam.
Well, your power play can't run through one player. That's the problem. yes, Jared McCann being out, and unfortunately, we don't know how long that's going to be. He is in COVID protocol. So that's always a toss-up of when he's going to come back. But like the power play is so stagnant. So I wrote about this in a new piece that came out today on Tuesday. They just don't move the puck around. They're kind of just standing there. There's a theory that, if you put all your best players on the first power play, it's going to work, but their best players, it just hasn't worked necessarily. So they really do need to switch up their power play units. Right now, when you look at the Arizona Coyotes game, their second unit actually outperformed the first unit. One big problem is that they can't really get set up in their zone because they don't move around. So one way to fix that is you start creating chances off the rush, which the Kraken seem to not want to do. Like, they're a good rush team, especially on the power play, but then when they set up, it just, nothing happens. So it is problematic. We'll see what they do, because something does need to change on the power play big time. But one big thing that they can do is, like I said, movement of the puck, movement of the players, and even just switching positions on the ice so that you kind of draw defenders away and create those open shooting lanes.
Good stuff. Do you have anything to add, Sean?
I've been writing a lot of game takeaways from their games. I'm going to be writing another one tonight or last night by the time you're hearing this, and it'll be live at this point. And it's just, I feel like it's going to get to a point where an editor is going to be like, you can't keep writing about how the power play isn't working. It's not like the power play is failing them. And it's would be different if their power play was failing and they were winning, or if they were getting blown out, 3 or 4 goals each game. But these are some close games. The power play is directly costing them. The powerless play, let's be honest here. Let's call a spade a spade. Now, in the Arizona loss, they went 0-for-2 on the power play and lost by a goal. They get one of those, it's a tie game. They get one of those earlier, and it's a momentum change. Against the Rangers, lost 3-1. They had 4 power plays they didn't score on. Now, this is having, obviously, a power play will have a direct impact in the game, but based on the context and the rest of the final score, it's having such a big impact on them, considering they're keeping a lot of these games closer. Again, it'd be different if they were getting blown out, but these close games are, you could almost directly link the losses to the lack of power play proficiency.
Yeah, when you look at the underlying stats, the Kraken seem to be quite a strong team, but that power play is really plaguing them at this point when they've had 38 opportunities and only 3 goals. And another interesting thing that we've got here written in the notes is Jared McCann still leads the team in power play goals with 2, when he has missed the last 4 games, and it looks like it's going to be 5. Doesn't look like he's in against Vegas. So someone's got to step up here. The only other player with a power play goal to this point is Tanev. And you can't, again, like Adam was saying, you can't rely on one player to be responsible for all your power play goals. And so far, they've only had 2 players that have put the puck in the net on the power play on 38 opportunities. And another note here that Adam got for us is in 5 of 7 Kraken games, they've had 3 or more power play chances. So there's definitely not a lack of power play opportunities for the Kraken. They just need to figure this out, and they need to score on it, because again, like you were mentioning, Sean, this is definitely changing the results of a lot of their games, and probably a lot of the reason they're losing a lot of these, or they're losing momentum in games, is because they just can't find the back of the net with the man advantage.
Yeah.
So yeah, did you want to add something, Sean?
Yeah, I think you just have to completely simplify it at this point. I mean, this is just my own theory, just shots from the point, rebounds, crash the net. Like, I don't want to see, pretty passing plays as nice as they are, as highlight reel as they are. They can't score that way, evidently. So you have to make the dirty, the greasy goals. Aside from the fact that he does have more offensive upside than probably giving credit for ahead of the season, Tanev is going to be that guy to get in there and score a greasy goal. And I think you can see that's more likely going to pad his goal total, as he had, I think, 2 or 3 breakaways last game, or a game or 2 games ago. And, he was stoned. He does have offensive skill. He can make a lot of more plays than he's given credit for, but it's going to be those greasy goals that a player of his role and his type is going to get. And especially when guys aren't scoring, that's when they have to just simplify it and be like, I'm going to get bumped and bruised, but if I come out with a goal and an assist out of it, then it's worth it. especially considering they don't have the record on their side to just take, not that anyone in the NHL takes a game off, but it's even less incentive, air quotes around incentive, to just, maybe take it easy on one power play. They are in a deep hole, and it's not getting any better because, while I know I, for one, put their division down and out to start the year, shaping up a lot better than I anticipated.
Yeah, and they haven't scored a power play goal again here in the notes from Adam. It's been since October 19th since the New Jersey Devils, since they had a power play goal, which is pretty ridiculous.
That's bad.
Not much to say about that. They've got to find the back of the net. We'll see how they do tonight against Vegas. I think Sean tweeted out before we started recording that they were 0-3 against Vegas in the season opener. So we'll see if they can change that tonight. Any last words on the power play, Adam?
The battle of the worst power plays in the NHL tonight. So that should be interesting. But yeah, it's frustrating. They're 0-24 since they scored against New Jersey. But it's kind of getting to a point where you have to just simplify everything. You have to make it very easy. Go back to what works in, minor hockey. So one technique that works is that you create kind of an L. So you create two passing lanes available for the passer. So if the player is down in the right-hand corner, maybe the left-hand flank comes down and creates a passing lane. And then you still have the right-hand side flank near the top of near the blue line or somewhere like that. So you need to be able to create passing lanes. Remember, there's 4 players versus 5 players, which means somebody is always going to be unmarked. So you should theoretically be able to make a pass to somebody that's unmarked. They have to move the puck faster. They're kind of just like, they get the puck and then they look and they look and they look and they don't do anything with it. And that's very easy because then the defenders, who usually are more aggressive now, that's kind of the style that we're going towards in the NHL, start moving in closer to everybody, and it's easier to steal the puck. So puck movement of players is key. And one thing that I did write about is that there is a thing called a bumper spot, which is right in front of the net. It's kind of between the 2 dots. So you can have a screen and a bumper spot. And that bumper spot usually gets unmarked because there's a lot of focus on the net front presence. So if you can get that bumper spot, like a guy like Morgan Geekie right in the middle there, or a guy like Alex Wenberg right in the middle there, guys who have good shots, and they can kind of move around that bumper spot a little bit, that creates some pretty good one-timers from within that baseball home plate area that we see most goals scored from.
I like that, Geeky there. And just final thought, you mentioned it's the battle of the worst power plays in the league. Well, it's not a situation where either team can even win at that, because they can both go 0-for-6 and just further disappoint everyone. So that'll be another little funny thing to watch if both power plays that are awful just continue to be awful.
It will be interesting to watch for sure. And some great analysis there by Adam. We might need to get you. We've mentioned it many times in the show. We got to get you hired by the Kraken. We got to get you behind the bench. I mean, there's still no mascot left. So I don't know. Maybe they're looking for someone to do the mascots. No.
I've done mascot work for my high school. I will never do it again.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's very hot, very sweaty. It's a workout. I probably lost 10 pounds sweating. I did.
You've both been mascots.
People try to take off your head a lot. That's what I've noticed.
Oh, man.
All right, let's get it over with. So we lost a bet to to the Howlers and Growlers Hockey Writers Show. Go check them out. They run a great show over there covering the Arizona Coyotes. And of course, Kraken fans listening to this, quite a disappointing game for the Kraken. Gave the Coyotes their first win of the season. They were 0-10-1 heading into the game, and the Kraken had a 2-0 lead 59 seconds into the game. Vejmelka was pulled within the first minute. The Coyotes fired back about a minute later with another goal and made it into a game, and it just kind of they ended up taking the lead, and they near the end of the game, the Kraken tied it up, and then seconds later they coughed it up again, and the Coyotes won. So we lost the bet. So we are going to talk a bit about the Arizona Coyotes today. So before that, we'll get some Kraken stuff in here as well. So let's just kind of quickly recap what kind of went wrong for the Kraken in that game. Do you want to go first, Adam?
Everything. I don't know, like what went right. Like I don't know. Yeah. Philip Grubauer was bad. The power play failed, even though Arizona is just very bad at the power play or at penalty kill. The penalty kill allowed too many chances. The defense wasn't taking the proper, or was losing their shape a lot, allowing for players to crash the net easy. They weren't forechecking well. Like, this was just, everything went wrong for the Kraken. I know that they scored a couple goals and it was a high scoring game, but that doesn't matter. Like, every team that goes into Arizona seems to be able to score. I don't know. This is just one of those games where you need to just forget about it, move on, and hope that the next time that you play them, you can actually win, I guess.
Yeah, and there were a lot of the players, including Dave Haxall, head coach, were saying that was not how the Kraken have been playing recently, and they really weren't playing their style and their game. So maybe they were thrown off going into the game, assuming it would be a lot easier competition than they thought, and it kind of backfired on them. But what did you think of it, Sean?
So first, I want to touch on Dave Haxall because he's been in the spot before as a head coach, and I'm paraphrasing what they were talking about on Spit and Chicklets today. He was the head coach of the Flyers back in 2017, and Wedgwood played his first game after, I think he was either traded or was claimed by the Coyotes, and they were winless, the Coyotes at the time. And he got his first win against Dave Haxall's team, both 4 years ago in his first game with the Coyotes and again his first game back with the Coyotes.
And I think both times that they were 0-10-1 going into it.
Yeah, I think that was the number, which is insane. So shout out to Scott Wedgwood because that's incredible. Now I'm going to touch on Philip Grubauer for a second, and I'm giving him a mulligan on this one. He's started 10 of 12 games for the Kraken, and I think he's completely overworked. Yes, I know Chris Driedger was injured, and I've written that Joey Daccord just isn't ready for the NHL yet, which I definitely think that a number one role in the AHL will be better for him, his development. But still, you can't start him off that much without the support that he needs. Like, he's got to stand on his head, and they're not helping him a lot out there. So that's even more pressure on him. I definitely think that A, he deserves a mulligan for that one. B, I would give him the night off tonight. I know it's been, I think, 3 days in between, but give him a little bit of extra rest. Let him reset. Let him know that I wouldn't necessarily say that's on him, and just help build his confidence back up. Because if he's not confident, this team rides or dies, sinks or swims by Phil Grubauer. If he doesn't have his confidence, they're sinking.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree there. I think he's been completely outworked. I think he's making way too many starts. But again, like you mentioned, the Kraken really haven't had that much of an option with Joey Daccord having to come up and fill in while Driedger was out. But tonight, Driedger will start against Vegas. So he's going to get his first. Well, he played 32 minutes earlier this season. I can't remember who it was against in relief for Grubauer, but he has not started yet in a Kraken uniform. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he comes into this and how he handles this against, again, another highly anticipated matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yeah, the goaltending has got to improve. And we'll see. We'll see if I know before the season we were expecting to see kind of a 1A, 1B tandem between Grubauer and Driedger. We'll see if that's still the plan. But yeah, Driedger's back, the tandem's back. This is the first time they're really going to be able to utilize this. So we'll see what they make of it. But now more Coyote stuff, because we did lose the bet and we need to hold our side of the deal. So let's what are some interesting things about the Coyotes? So they're this season they've pretty much blown their roster up. They've traded Garland out of town. Ekman Larsson's gone. They had 3 goaltenders. Who was it? It was Darcy Kemper, Aiden Hill, and Antti Ranta. They're all gone now. So they've kind of completely blown this roster up. 4 draft picks. Incredible. They have 3 first-round picks and 5 second-round picks next year. And who knows if they're even done yet. They might still be going. I've heard rumors about Kessel potentially being moved. So they're pretty much going all in on a rebuild. But there are some standout players, which we'll get to, who maybe they will earn their spot on this team for the long run. So let's get into that first. Sean, is there anyone on the Coyotes that has impressed you?
Yeah. So we have written down Shayne Gostisbehere as a goal and 8 assists through 12 games, which leads the Yotes. And honestly, I love this so much because I projected that the Kraken would take him, reunite him with Dave Haxtell, where he had his most offensive success after several years recently of just struggling. And now he's in a no pressure situation. He can be the guy and play his offensive role. And he's finally getting back to looking how he was with the Flyers. And I think that this could, not in the situation that I anticipated, rejuvenate his career. That's great for him. I also I'm going to shout out Loul Eriksson. And I like to consider myself, above all else, a hockey fan. But honestly, after he was out of Boston, I thought he was on like long-term IR and pretty much on the path to retirement. I had no idea he was still playing hockey. I'm going to be completely honest, which is an awful look for me. But I just feel like he's just been a ghost for the last couple of years. And now, he's playing with the Yotes. I'm just like, good for you, man. Like, keep going with it, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's this year's probably a redemption year for a lot of the players down there. You've also got who was I just going to say? Andrew Ladd's another one of the older veteran players. They've pretty much just brought in a lot of contracts, players being paid way more than they should be paid, and I guess that's just they're pretty much throwing this year out the window, it looks like. But for the players, this, like you mentioned there, for Loul Eriksson, this could be a unique turning point in a lot of these guys' careers where they could actually earn contracts, maybe with the Coyotes, maybe with another team in the future.
In general, even younger guys, like anyone can get a shot on this team. And it's kind of cool to see. You're going to see guys who would never sniff the NHL roster, maybe not even as a black ace on other teams. And I think that has a fun aspect to it. I was listening to Howlers and Growlers, and I forget who mentioned it, was saying that, this team, they were losing, but they're still having a great, atmosphere, on off days, practice around the team. So I think that just because their record is bad doesn't mean it's not going to be a fun and exciting team to watch. Yes, they haven't played well, but there's still some reasons to, be excited for this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. And again, this is they're rebuilding, so they're going to have a lot of draft picks, but I'm sure there's going to be some of these young players, maybe even some of these older players that are in their spot on the roster long term. But I want to go to Adam now. You're kind of a prospect guru. So do you want to tell us a bit about what Coyotes fans might be expecting in the future?
Well, the Coyotes, they don't have the best prospect pool, but they do have some very good players who are in that prospect area. You have a guy like Victor Soderstrom, the big defenseman. He's played in 9 games this year so far for the Arizona Coyotes. He's somebody to watch. He's going to have a good year, good career. He's one of those players that has really worked on his overall game, and it's going to take him a little bit of time, but he's really going to have a successful career. Same with Barrett Hayden. I really like Hayden. He's a big center. He was fantastic in junior. I remember that. Peterborough, Ontario native. And that's somebody to watch. I know he hasn't really been given an opportunity, unfortunately, with the big club yet, but we'll see where that goes. Jacob Chychrun could be a Norris candidate if Arizona becomes a better team. I know he's had a very He hasn't had a great start this year. He's -20 so far, but he's playing 24 minutes on Arizona, so that kind of makes sense. But that's a guy that, watch for him to make the Team Canada Olympic team, not this time around, but in 4 years, because that's somebody who is going to have a fantastic career. And then you talk about the players that were just drafted, like a Dylan Guenther, who lit up the WHL last year with the Edmonton Oil Kings. That's he has a great shot. He went a little bit lower than people thought. People thought he was going to be a top 5 pick. He went, 9th overall. So he is a special player to watch. When I talked to the play-by-play guy in Edmonton, that was somebody that we always circled back to talking about. You have Josh Doan, the son of legendary Arizona Coyote, Phoenix Coyote, and Winnipeg Jet Shane Doan. So we'll see how that goes. And then lastly, from my end, I've watched David Tendeck play almost his entire junior career. Like, he's one of the best Vancouver Giant goaltenders to ever come through the program. And I know he's in the AHL right now. He's been there for a couple of years now, but he does have some potential to be a special player in the Coyotes organization and actually make it to the NHL. And then 2 other players that I really liked, they're no longer prospects. Lawson Crouse, loved him at the World Juniors a couple of years ago. That's a guy who I think is going to have a very good year. And then Keller, somebody to watch when it comes to the U.S. Olympic team for this coming Olympics. I know that he doesn't get talked about a lot because he plays for the Arizona Coyotes, but he's 3rd on the team with 5 points in 3 games. He has 26 shots on goal so far this year. He's playing about 18 minutes. Keller is a guy that if you want a strong 4th line or 3rd line, like a bottom 6 player on a stacked US team, Keller is the exact player that you need. Like I said, he's gone a little bit of a rough ride being in Arizona, but he has a bright future for sure in the NHL.
There you go. Some incredible Coyotes analysis by Adam there. I didn't even know that much about the Coyotes. He's done his research. I love it.
That was nice.
Before we move back out onto the some Kraken stuff, we want to give a shout out to Patrick Brown and Haynes Evans, 2 guys who are over at the THW Coyotes team, do the Howlers and Growlers show. You can find them on Twitter at @PBrownHockey and at HaynesPEvans. They've got great content, and if you want to hear more about the Coyotes, because this is a pretty changing time for this franchise. A lot of things are going to change, especially after next year's draft. So, an exciting team to watch for sure. So go follow them for your Coyotes coverage if you are interested. But we will. Yeah. Before
we head over there, make sure to sign up for the morning skate, because this morning, so Tuesday morning, they did post an article and they were asking which team in Arizona will have more wins this year, the Arizona Coyotes or the Arizona Cardinals. So make sure to check that out. They make some pretty good points on both sides.
Yeah, and be sure to, after reading that article, jump into the Hockey Lounge, which is our Discord through the Hockey Writers. You can discuss any team. There are channels for every team, general discussion, and a lot more in there. It's a fun time. I'm in there for several Kraken. I've been in there for Kraken's games before. Good conversation during the games, and it's a fun time. It's a good way to connect with people too. And hockey, as much as we love the game, it's about the people. For
sure. Yeah, it's both ways are a great way to involve yourself in not only the THW community, but the hockey community in general. And like you mentioned, the Discord, the Hockey Lounge. Discord's a great app. I absolutely love chatting on there with people, and the Hockey Lounge is it's still growing. So you can still become an early member of this and start building this new online hockey community. But now let's do some more Kraken talk. Our final discussion for today. The Kraken after tonight, well, I mean, when you hear this, it'll be yesterday's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. They've got a 6-game homestand, which is going to be extremely important for this team because they're falling a bit behind now in the in the race for a playoff spot. I'm pretty sure they're sitting last at this point in the Pacific Division. So these are going to be crucial for them. They're going to be playing against the Anaheim Ducks, the Minnesota Wild, Chicago Blackhawks, Colorado Avalanche, Washington Capitals, and the Carolina Hurricanes. So there's a good mix of teams in there. Quite a few difficult matchups that are going to be quite testing for the Kraken. But what do you think the Kraken need to pull out of this? How many games will they need to win, and how will they need to perform if they want to turn their season around? I'll go to you first, Sean.
I think they need points in 4 out of 6. I think they need to win at least 3. Now, I'm going to look really silly if they come out of this 2-4, and there's your points in 4 games. But this is a mix of teams that they should beat and that you hope to see them compete against. And I think that there are a lot of surprises of these teams they're playing. The Ducks have been playing well, better than anticipated. The Blackhawks worse than anticipated. And the Avalanche, they're in the middle of the pack in their division right now. I just wrote about that in my weekly Lost and Found. Now, I definitely think that they're going to have to steal. It's going to be more of a steal a few games than outward wins at this point. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the lack of power play proficiency. But I think that they need to win 3 games and come out points in 4. And at the very least, if they don't win these games, for future sake, they need to be competitive. Any 2-goal losses has to be 1 goal and an empty netter. Because if they're not even competitive in some of these games, and I think they will be, but I'm definitely nervous against the Hurricanes, slightly nervous against the Capitals. They fared well. I'm pretty sure they beat the Wild earlier in the season, but still, that's a good hockey team. That's going to be a fun team to watch down the line. So I definitely think they need to win 3, but points in 4 is imperative. Don't hit me with that 2-4 stuff, though. Really, really not trying to look silly.
What are you looking for, Adam?
Well, it's going to be a big week for Hayden Fleury because he's got 2 revenge games this week. Mm-hmm. And, he talked a little bit about this over the week. He's got the Ducks to start it off and the Hurricanes to end it. This homestand is going to be very challenging, but there is potential here because there is a 3-day break in the homestand between the Wild and the Blackhawks. So between game 2 and game 3, there is a 3-day break to kind of reset. But I would argue that this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important homestands of the season, because if you start falling behind early, you're never going to catch up. I know that the Blues did it a couple years ago. They went on an unparalleled run that we'll probably never see again. But this Kraken team isn't built the same way. So if you start falling behind early, it's going to cause problems. Another problem is that if, let's say that, they lose every game on this homestand or only win 1 game and they get below 4 points, then you're going to start seeing some of these players who are on 1-year deals. Teams are going to start sniffing around and saying, okay, well, we need some replacements because of injury, or, we want to stock up in case that we have a COVID outbreak, things like that. So this homestand could really determine the future of some of those UFAs at the end of the year as well. Because if the Kraken start falling behind, if they finish this homestand and they only have, 11, 12 points on the season, I think they're at game 12 now, or so yeah, if they're falling that far behind with the Chicago Blackhawks and the Arizona Coyotes, and they're in that kind of mix, it could start the fire sale that we kind of expected going into the season.
Sorry, just a quick. It'll be interesting too if they're selling off these 1-year, going to be UFAs. They only have so many guys signed to their roster now. So unless they bring back other players to fill in, they're going to have to start calling some of these guys in their AHL team up, which I don't know how you guys would feel about that. That's a whole other conversation. Tom, sorry to jump in there.
I was going to say, I mean, you bring up that point. Alex True's a guy who's having extreme success at the AHL right now. He's leading the Charlotte Checkers, but I was also going to mention we might see, I would assume we would see Jared McCann back in the lineup at some point during the 6-game homestand, considering if he misses tonight, he's missed 5 games now on COVID-19 protocols. And I remember he was just one of the I mean, I wrote an article about it early in the season, how he was really turning into the Kraken's go-to sniper. He is a wicked shot, a quick release, and the Kraken have been struggling since he's been out of the lineup. So I already thought he was going a bit under the radar while he was on the team, and now he's really going under the radar. And so I hope maybe during this 6-game homestand, he makes a return and he kind of can come back and find the game and where he left off. And another name that I'm hoping makes their Kraken debut during this homestand is Colin Blackwell, he had a lower body injury before the start of training camp, so we haven't seen him yet. But I posted a news and rumors piece the other day. He is a full participant at Kraken practice, so that is amazing news for him. And that's another guy who we could see give a huge boost to the Kraken. He's newer. He's only played 80 NHL games to this point, but he has a lot of upside and potential. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Sean, seeing as though you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, he's just got a fantastic story too. Just from off my memory, he was concussed pretty bad a couple times in college, pretty much took a year off and had to fight through all that just to get back. He finished college, worked his way through the minors, and he had a breakout year with the Rangers last year after playing a bit with the Predators. Yes, there's the whole, yes, he played with Artemi Panarin argument, but he was playing up and down that lineup. He played some penalty kill, some power play. So he showed his versatility, and I was stoked to see him. Well, having grown up a Rangers fan, it hurt, but covering the Kraken, I knew he was going to be a good player, and assuming he has a full-time role on the team, and the only reason I word it like that is because it's kind of some guys who we projected maybe would be full-time are kind of in and out right now, and how it's performance-based at this point when you have enough of the same type of players. But I think that he could become a fan favorite because he's going to block shots and he's going to dish, sauce applesauce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. it's exciting. It'll be exciting to see him. It's another, this franchise is new. There's still players we're going to see that have not played a single game for the Kraken yet. So I'm looking forward, especially to Colin Blackwell. I think he's probably the most anticipated of Kraken players that haven't made their debut yet. Another point of interest, Marcus Johansson is slotting back into the lineup against Vegas tonight, filling in for Donato, who got injured last game. So I'm really looking to see how he does, and hopefully he can give a boost there. He's an NHL veteran. He's got a lot of experience in this league. He's been to the Stanley Cup final. He's worn the A on 2 teams. He was an assistant captain with New Jersey and in Buffalo. So we'll see what kind of impact he has, and he'll have another chance tonight. This will actually be his second game with the Kraken. His first one was against Vegas, so he will have only played against the Vegas Golden Knights as a Kraken so far. But yeah, before we wrap this up, are there any last thoughts on this upcoming homestand for the Kraken, or anything else you want to add in, Adam?
Yeah. In regards to Jared McCann, hopefully it's not serious, because we have seen it in cases like, for instance, Brandon Sutter, where he was diagnosed with COVID back in March, I believe, and he still hasn't returned to the NHL. One thing to know as well with the COVID testing is that if you have tested positive before, you could test positive up to a few months afterwards. So that's also something to take into account. We don't know what the situation is around Jared McCann, but hopefully this is just a testing issue and not a actual he's really suffering through COVID. But yeah, this team needs a spark somehow. Like, we thought that it was going to be when Yanni Gourde came in. It wasn't. They played well for a couple of games, and then they kind of reverted back to their old system. Luckily, Jordan Eberle and Jaden Schwartz are finally getting the offense going, but it's just not enough. Like, we praised how this team was deep on the defense, and it seems like the defense is the only part of the team that's scoring. So something needs to change, and it needs to change quickly. Otherwise, this could be Dave Haxtell's only year as the coach of the Seattle Kraken.
Ooh.
Wow. Clip that. We can get into that one later down the line for sure. My final thought is that, the Kraken, they're 12 games in. they're going to be here for a very, very long time. So it seems. So Jared McCann, get better, man. Hope, nothing is super bad. And shout out Carey Price. I'm pretty sure he's out of the player assistance. I saw him post on Instagram. So you got to do what you got to do to get better. Hockey will be here. I see myself as a players first kind of guy, whether it's talking about contracts or something like this. So do what you got to do to get better. The sport will be here.
Yep. Well said. All right. We will wrap up this episode. This has been another great episode, and hopefully we'll have some more exciting things, because we've had a lot of talk about the struggling power play and stuff. So we'll see. Maybe they'll switch around, and if not, maybe we need to give Hackstall a call and see if we can get Adam behind the bench to sort that out.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of THW What's Kraken. We hope you enjoyed the show, and look forward to next week, as we'll be breaking down any Seattle Kraken news and rumors that come up over the next few days. Again, make sure to check out our written work at thehockeywriters.com, and follow the show on Twitter at What's Kraken Show, as well as their personal accounts at Tom Pepper, at Raggio9124, and at Adam K. Blatt. From Tom, Sean, and Adam, this has been THW What's Kraken.